Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the professional development series, Harness Your Strengths and How Knowing Your Superpowers Means More Money and More Fun. This session will be recorded and will be shared with attendees, and we'll also have it available on the Chamber's website. We are able to provide this offering to our members free of charge because of the generosity of our sponsor, the College of St. Scholastica, Stender School of Business and Technology. I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker today, Anna Nelson. Anna is a Gallup certified strengths coach with her company of the same name, Anna Nelson LLC. Thank you for speaking for us today, Anna, and I'll turn it over to you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. And everyone, I'm sure you maybe already know, but there are two Anna Nelsons in the room. And that when Anna Nelson and me, we met because of Ruth, who got married, and I forget her new last name. But anyway, just know there are two Anna Nelsons with two different businesses, but we are both friends. So I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just going to dive right on in. So I'm going to share my screen. And okay, so harness your strengths, how knowing your superpowers means more money and more fun in work and in life. I am Anna Nelson, and I am a Gallup certified strengths coach, and I work with 6, 7, and 8-figure business owners and their teams so that the business owners can build their business and their teams around their strengths. And I wasn't always a coach. I have worked corporate for 18 years in various industries, ranging from financial services to retail to project management at a marketing firm. I have an MBA, and I've done a variety of things. But one of the things that I've always wanted to have in life was one of my own businesses. So a few years ago, I took a 9-week leave of absence to go study bra making up near Toronto, Ontario. And I thought that getting into the lingerie business would be the way to build a business for myself. I grew up sewing. I grew up in Duluth as one of 5 kids. And if you wanted to have a piece of clothing, you needed to learn how to make it. Otherwise, you couldn't have it. So I went all in. Like I said, took a 9-week leave of absence. I got a certificate as a certified professional bra maker. And I came back and I turned my living room into a sewing studio. I got customers who came to my sewing studio to get measured. I made custom bras. I got paid for those custom bras. And I went all in. So on the weekends and in the evening, I would just come home and sit in my sewing studio, figuring out what type of product line I wanted to have, looking at tons of fabrics and the supplies and all of the things. Now, one day, it was a Saturday, I was like, you have to stay home. You have to finish this particular project because you're getting paid for it and you don't want this thing hanging over your head. So you cannot do anything except for work on this particular project. And an hour later, someone called and asked if I was interested in meeting up for coffee. I wish we had those days. And I was like, absolutely, I'll see you there in 10 minutes. And I dropped that bra like a hot potato. I was like, boom, out the door. And on my way to the coffee shop, I was like, maybe I am barking up the wrong tree, the wrong business tree for me. If I'm willing to drop something that I have all these goals around and I want to do, but I was more willing to go out for coffee with an acquaintance than I was to work on my own particular goal. And that was the first time I really started to think about, like, what am I really good at? What do I want to do? What do I do well that I could make money on? And so that is what we are going to talk about today. Our strengths point to what we're wired to do. And I might say a lot about some of my clients who are business owners. And so a lot of you might work for someone else, which means, like, how do you fit in as a team? How do you fit in with your supervisor or your boss? How do we all fit in when it comes to making money? Because we all work. Yes, I'm a coach. This is my own business that I do, and I'm making money and I love it. But it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do. And so we can all figure out what we want to do and what we're wired to do by kind of taking the time to know what our strengths are. So today I'm going to teach you how to think about your strengths as it relates to your professional development. And if you have a team or are on a team, how does it work that way? And then I'm going to also walk you through the 4 domains that Gallup talks about, with how there are 4 different domains that we strongly fit into, and we fit into them differently from each other. And I know Bailey is going to hand out the slides at some point, but also if you want, at the end, I have a little strengths cheat sheet that you can sign up for. So you can go back, re-listen to this, and kind of take notes on your own if you want. So I know that a lot of you are probably pretty highly educated. You're here because it's a professional development series, and maybe you have heard about strengths in the past and you're like, yeah, I already know about this. But maybe today, the way in which I talk about strengths is going to be said in a different way than you've heard before, because again, we're all wired differently and we interpret things differently based on how other people communicate things. And if you have questions at the end, I hope that we'll have some time for a Q&A. So in order to get this presentation right for you, I would love to know, and Bailey can maybe moderate, how important is understanding your strengths when creating a life you love? And when I say creating a life you love, like include when you are working in a position that you enjoy working in. So that when you wake up and you know you get to go to work, how important is understanding your strengths and how you're wired in terms of creating that life? So if you want, you can type an answer in the chat. And if Bailey can, she can read anything that's popping up. Are there any number or any comments?
Yes, yeah. So from Barb Bengston, essential.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Anna, very important. It was a game changer for me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Same with me.
From Hannah Stevens, there was, let's see, very helps create direction and hone in on a passion.
Mm-hmm.
Kara Overland had only way to truly create happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Christy Erickson, your strength should lead your life direction. And Steve Anderson says, very important to understand strengths. And Sean Florkey says, helps understand your need to build your team in balance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much for that. And then we have one more question. How confident are you in your ability with your skills today to make that happen? So how confident are you in your ability to make that happen given your previous answer? And that, if you want to type some answers in the chat, that would also be awesome.
From Jose Cabrera, somewhat confident.
And maybe no one wants to share how confident they are, and that's okay.
From Anna, pretty confident, but always love learning more. From Christy, very, but I could use a reassessment.
Mm-hmm.
Heather C says, learning about mine.
Okay. This is like an ongoing thing, right? But being self-aware and recognizing how we show up in the world. So, okay, why does knowing your strengths matter? Like we all say, like do what you love, be who you are, do what your passions are. And it's like, okay, that's all great. But like, what I often find with my clients is like, they're kind of already living in their strengths, but they don't really know like what value they're bringing. They have no idea. And so I find that there are 3 ways that my clients will think about strengths, or like why I really believe knowing strengths matters. One, saying like, well, I know what I'm good at. Like do we really know what we're good at? I didn't really know what I was good at. I was literally building a lingerie business, and I'm a coach now. So it's completely different. Even though I knew how to make bras and I could follow all of the steps, was that really what I was good at? Not really. Or people think, well, I'm working on it, or I have a few things to fix, especially in the office, right? Like, how many times have I gotten reviewed and nothing was commented on what I did extremely well over the year? But it's like, I had one boss say this one. She goes, well, you show up at 9:10, you should show up at 9 o'clock. When I stayed late multiple times, and I just got done helping to raise millions of dollars for this fund or something, and I'm like, everyone else in the company showed up at 9:30. So it's like, that was my feedback. And it's like, okay, that no feedback about what I was doing well. Or someone told me I was good at this. Like, okay, I'm doing this thing because my mom told me I should do this, or my grandpa told me I should do this, or I'm a lawyer because there are lawyers in my family and I needed to do this. And I'm sort of good at it. And the thing with that is that, what metric are you being told that you are good at something? Like, I went to Duluth East, and I got terrible grades. I got A's, B's, C's, D's, and 1 F my senior year. And by all accounts, like, I was encouraged to go to community college because by the metric of my bad grades, it didn't appear that I was good at anything. But if you had taken a look at my social life throughout the day at school, I was friends with everyone from those who were in the local gangs all the way up to the jocks on the hockey team, and people in between. I did not get graded on that, but I did get graded on how well I did in math. And so that was the metric in which I was told I was good, or in that case, not good at something. So knowing our strengths is extremely important so that we can talk about, like, well, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm wired to do. So first, we're going to have a vocab lesson, which many of you guys have probably heard these words, talent and superpower. And I think the word superpower is totally overused these days. So because it is, I just want to say what I think that it means. A superpower is what you do without trying, that you've invested in. Okay. So, but it starts with a talent. So what you do without trying. So all of us do things without even trying. We can't even help ourselves. And it becomes a superpower when we recognize what our talent is, how we're wired, and then we take the time to invest in it and add skills and knowledge. So me as a coach, I started to realize, because someone had reviewed my strengths with me, that I was extremely good with people, that was actually a strength, and not just like, oh, she just likes to talk to people. It was actually something I could like build a business around. So I invested in coaching training. So now it is a superpower when I work one-on-one with others. And when you know what your superpower is, it gives you 3 things: clarity, awareness, and application. So when you know what your strengths are, you have clarity, you know who you are, you appreciate who you are. It provides a confidence boost because now you're out there like literally living the way that you're wired, and you don't have to be embarrassed about it. You don't have to be ashamed, and you can confidently show up as you. And it allows you to say no guilt-free. There are a few strengths themes that have a really difficult time saying no. And sometimes we as humans have a hard time saying like, no, I don't think that position is right for me, because it's expected like, oh, you're supposed to say yes because we asked you to do this thing. Well, if you know what your strengths are, you can say no to it. Okay. Awareness. Knowing your strengths means that you can start to be aware, like, okay, what do I love doing? Okay. Going back to my example, I loved talking to people in coffee shops. That's why I dropped the bra. Like, I would way rather hang out with a person, even if I don't know them, than I would with a piece of fabric and my sewing machine. This is a strong word, but what do you hate doing? What do you absolutely not like doing? I don't want to file. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to clean offices or look at spreadsheets. Like, I am not good at that, and I do not want to do that. Okay. All right. Well, then I better not do that thing because I won't be good at it. What could you do all day? Like, what could you, even in your personal life or in your professional life, like, what are the parts of your life that you're like, I could do that all day long? For me, it's talking with people. I could do it all day long and not get tired of it. And how do you feel productive? When I met Anna Nelson, we met for coffee. Of course, I had tons of other things. She had tons of other things to do. But like for me, I won't speak for her, but for me, it felt like I was being really productive that day by connecting with someone I did not know. I loved it. So how you feel productive also points to how you are wired. Application. Once you understand, like, okay, this is who I am, and you have a greater awareness of how your strengths are showing up, now you can build a life you're wired for. You can build your professional life around what you are good at. Look for positions that would really suit you and not just guess at maybe I'll do this or whatever. I'll keep staying in this. I'll retire in 40 years. It'll be fine. A really sad way to live life and a really long way to live life if you're suffering. You can start to proactively lean into how you're wired and show up well with others. You now know how you can communicate your value add. You can say, this is what I do, and this is what I do really well, or I enjoy doing this. If you are a business owner, or if you're in sales, or like all of us, we need clients in order to bring in revenue. Like, how do you know which clients are the right ones for you? I work with people all the time, and I'm like, they'll be like, oh, I really don't like working with these types of clients. They really bring me down. Or they'll have other reasons for why. And we go through their strengths. I'm like, okay, well, this is why. It's the wrong clientele. And it's not because they don't want to help people, because they do. That's why they're in business. We're all in businesses that help people in some way. It's just attract the right people that you work really, really well with. And then charge for your superpower. If you're really good at strategic thinking and coming up with ideas, and you know that you can change businesses, lives, and trajectories by your ideas, like now you know how to communicate that value, and you can charge properly for it. Don't gouge them, but you can charge properly because you can be confident that how you're showing up for that client is really good. And know who to hire. If you're an owner, if you run a team, you manage people, like who do you need on your team that is missing? I don't need another double of me. I need someone who works differently and thinks differently than me to do the things that I don't like to do, like planning my social media. I'm not consistent and I don't like planning. That is just not in my wheelhouse. So maybe I should hire out for that. So I have 2 interns who work for me. And then the bonus is that when you know what you're good at, you can start recognizing how your strengths show up elsewhere. So I got married 3 months ago. My strengths show up very different when I leave my home office and I go into the other part of the house, and when my husband comes home, than when I'm sitting working on my business. And we are a good team. We have opposite strengths, but recognizing how my strength complements his and how his strength complements me is a game changer when it comes to being in a really good relationship or partnership with someone. Or how do you relate to your kids, or how do you relate with other volunteer activities? Like it doesn't just have to be in business, it can in work, it can also be in your personal life as well. So how do you tell what your superpower is? A few years ago, when I was working in downtown Minneapolis, my boss and we were walking out to the parking ramp, and we were passing someone, and I said, bye, Jennifer, have a nice evening. And she said, bye, Anna, I'll see you tomorrow. And we kept walking. And my boss looked at me and she was like, how do you know her? And I was like, I don't know. I guess I met her in the bathroom. Or she had asked, well, who is that? And I said, she's Jen. She owns the flower shop down the hall. And she was like, how do you know her? And I said, I met her in the bathroom. And she was like, you met her in the bathroom? And I was like, yes. Don't you meet people in the bathroom? And she was like, no. And I drove home that night thinking like, that is so odd. Like, I know she goes to the bathroom every single day and it's the same group of people we see. Like, I can't believe that she doesn't know any of the women in the bathroom. I couldn't believe it, right? So that was an indicator of something that I am really, really good at. It just was showing up in the bathroom, right? So a superpower has four components, and then you add skills and knowledge. So one, is it easy? Is how easy is it for you to do the thing? For me, it was super easy to open up my mouth to Jen to be like, oh, what do you think of the smell of the soap? Like, can't even help myself. Excellence, is there always a level of excellence? Well, yeah, I was able to convey like my name, got her name, like I did it well, she felt comfortable. Does it give you energy, the thing that you do really well? Does it give you energy? Absolutely. I left the bathroom, I'm like, oh my goodness, that was so awesome. I can't believe I met someone. Enjoyment, every time I meet someone and I connect well with them, I love it. I enjoy it. I think it is so much fun. And then, like I said earlier, when you add skills and knowledge, now it becomes a superpower. So I'm a much better listener than I was before because of my coach training. I am more aware of another person and what they're saying and whatnot just by my training. So in my professional life, I'm in tune with others. So strengths help us filter our world. They describe us. They explain why we are better at some things than others. They direct our actions and they influence our choices. Like everyone here, even how you're interpreting this talk is based through how you are wired. A superpower is not a learned skill set or showing up on time or working late, never taking vacations, getting better at things that you are not good at. Those are not superpowers, right? I learned how to make bras. Great. I have friends who are much better lingerie designers than me, even though if you bought a bra from me, it would still stay on and work and look nice. But it's not my superpower. And when you're not using your superpower, and I know this, like having worked ever since I graduated from UND, I've had lots of jobs where parts of it I was able to connect with people, but then there were other parts where the job wasn't the right fit for me. So it's like, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Or in business, like especially as a solopreneur, I could look at someone else's business and be like, why is she so much more successful? Or even as professionals, we can wonder like, why is that person doing so much better in their job than me? Okay, well, maybe you're not using your superpowers. That's why. Or you just don't want to do something today. When I worked in financial services as an admin years ago, my desk would be piled with papers that needed to be filed. I hated filing and I was getting paid to file. Like, okay, that's an example. Like, I don't want to do this today. Okay, that's not utilizing my strengths. I'm not good at organizing many, many things. You don't want me to organize your house. It won't work. So you waste time when you're not using your superpowers. You make less money and there's a lack of joy. Like, you'll make less money because you're not operating the way that you're wired. So someone's going to be like, kind of like me with my math grades, like, oh, she's not really good at math. So I wouldn't have gotten paid very well if I had applied at a job that required me to work on numbers, even if there was a calculator involved. And there's a lack of joy. You're just like, oh, I don't want to do this right now. I just can't wait for the weekend. Okay, that is when you are not using your superpower. So I would love to know, and you can write this down for yourself or just mentally in your head, like, how would you describe yourself to others? Because how you would describe yourself to others starts to point us in the direction of how we are wired. And if one or two, Bailey, if one or two people want to type it up in the chat, like one way in which you would describe yourself to others, and Bailey wants to read it, great.
Energetic from Care Overland, and then Samantha Halligan says positive.
Okay, that's so awesome. Okay, awesome. Like there are strengths like positivity that, and I mean, there are lots of strengths that where someone would be energetic or have positivity, and those are amazing strengths to have. So here are two real life examples. The first one, this person had, this is me. I have a lot of friends. I describe myself as having a lot of friends. I'm a person of my word. I want the best for myself and for others, and I help people. Then this is a client of mine. She dreams of the future. She loves to sit across one-on-one with others. She can connect deeply with people, and she's able to recognize patterns, which she is in the business of helping people over a longer period of time, and she can point out patterns in their life. So those are some real life examples. And so, which kind of points us in the next direction of okay, why do some people plan a vacation down to where they'll eat every single meal, which Disney ride they will go on, they plan every single part of their vacation down to their return flight home. And then other people buy a plane ticket and they're content to land and then they figure it out from there. Two very different people. Or why do some people love puzzles and some people prefer reading books? Or why do some people like making friends in the bathroom and other people will go to the bathroom to avoid meeting people? And woe to them if I am in the bathroom, right? So there are four strengths, four domains that strengths fall into. And if you understand which domain and then eventually which talent theme you are in, it will help you give verbiage for how you are wired and how you show up the way that you do. So the first domain is relationship building. Okay, this person has the ability to build strong relationships, holds a team together. This person has friends everywhere. No one is a stranger. Everyone matters. They're able to converse with people, no problem. They are also unable to converse with people with no problem. Their introverts fall into relationship building, which is interesting. And they care about others. So me and my bathroom buddy story, this is relationship. I'm high and strong in relationship building. Okay, great. Productivity for someone high in relationship building is being with people. And the talent themes in relationship building are adaptability, connectedness, developer, empathy, harmony, includer, individualization, positivity, and relator. The next domain is strategic thinking. So this person is thinks about what could be. They absorb and analyze information to inform better decisions. This person is always thinking about the best way forward and how to do it. They might have tons of ideas. They're predictors of the future. They are dreamers. They ask what would happen if this happened or if this happened. They can be bookworms and academics. They enjoy debating and wrestling with ideas. Innovation and creativity is huge. I have a friend who is has all of the strategic thinking themes. And she literally said one day, she's like, I could just think all day long. And I work with clients who are I just wish I could think all day long, because for them, their powerhouse is in their brain. Productivity is thinking. The talent themes in this domain are analytical, context, futuristic, ideation, input, intellection, learner, and strategic. Then we have influencing, and this is the person who is able to take charge, speak up. They make sure other people are heard. They move people to take action. They can get buy-in easily from numerous folks. They can communicate difficult things in easy to understand ways. They can help people understand why something is a good thing. They can sell them on an idea or get started. And basically these influencers get people on board. My friend and client, Bobby, is an influencer, and he had an event in December with 150 people. Like, first of all, he got 150 people to his event, and then he got 40 people to sign up to his group coaching program. He was able to move people to take action on their business goals and dreams, and people bought into his idea of like, hey, this is how I think it should be done. And he moved people to sign up for his program. So productivity is moving people. The talent themes here are activator, command, communication, competition, maximizer, self-assurance, significance, and woo. And then the last one is executing. So this person makes things happen. This is the person who has a super hard time relaxing. They love finishing things, to-do lists. They are all about to-do lists. Urgency and results oriented. That's the name of the game. My mom is super high in executing, and growing up, she would have the laundry done and hanging up outside every single day before, like probably before 7 a.m., maybe even earlier. And she was making like 9 loaves of bread in the oven. And the neighbor ladies on either side, they were like drinking coffee in their robes inside, feeling bad about themselves because my mom was the one out there getting things done. She cannot sit down to this day. So folks high in executing, getting things done, checking things off a list, that is productivity for them. And the talent themes here are achiever, arranger, belief, consistency, deliberative, discipline, focus, responsibility, and restorative. So my 2 examples from before, so me having a lot of friends, these are my top 5 strengths. That is my woo and my includer theme. I love to talk to anyone, and I can talk to anyone basically. I'm a person of my word. That's because I have responsibility as my second talent theme. I want the best. That's my number 1. Like, I believe that everyone has strengths and that they can learn to lean into them and become a better version of themselves. And my business is based off of that particular way of thinking. And I help people, and that is my developer theme. And then my other client dreams of the future, futuristic and ideation. She's thinking of the future, and she's thinking of all of these ideas. She's sitting with other people, like individuals. That's our individualization theme coming out. Deep connections with others. That's her relator theme. Relators enjoy deep one-on-one connection with others and recognizes patterns. She is a strategic thinker. Okay, so I would be remiss to talk about weaknesses because, as the old cliche goes, our greatest strength is also our greatest weaknesses. And all of the talent themes that I already rattled off, they are amazing strengths to have, but they all can show up in really negative ways. So I kind of like to call them like strengths gone rogue. Like, okay, that is not a good way that your strength is showing up. Weaknesses can, and maybe you can relate to some of these, but weaknesses show up as the inability to say no despite a long to-do list, perfectionism. I am a recovering perfectionist, analysis paralysis, shiny object syndrome, a need to know more and more and more information before making a decision, frustration with others when they can't see their own problems, going down rabbit holes. One thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, overwhelming others with too much information, collecting too many things and you can't get rid of them, like so much clutter, being emotionally distant, being too stubborn, can't, like, nope, puts a stake in the ground and wants to die on that stake, right? Acting before thinking, or thinking too long before acting, and coming across as critical. These are all weaknesses that I have worked with people on. And again, it is amazing when the combinations of strengths are working the way that they're supposed to, but it is not good when they start going like a little bit too far in the opposite direction. Okay, so you might be asking, okay, great. this is what these strengths are, but now what do I do with this information? Like, what am I supposed to do? So this is my client, Bobby. He has a team of 4, and I think he works with contractors. He was or is a Harvard trained lawyer, and he worked for the government prosecuting people. And now he has his own online business. Very different, but he was living in his strengths before. Now he is still living in his strengths as an influencer. So his 4 domains, the order of his domains are influencing, strategic thinking, relationship building, executing. Me, I am really high in relationship building, then influencing, then executing, then strategic thinking. So Bobby and I, like it's like, we're not completely opposite, but we do think differently than each other. So if you took Bobby's top 5 strengths and you took my top 5 strengths and you just created a 1-sentence summary to describe us, Bobby takes complex ideas and makes them easy to understand. That is what he does every single day. His conference that he put on talked about business building, and he spoke about it in ways that were very different than other entrepreneurs in the space. And people were able to buy into, like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. This is cool. Yes. Oh, where can I give you my money? So he has 40 people in his coaching program. For me, I see huge potential in others. Like, I've done this ever since I was little. I love encouraging people to do the things that they are really good at. I can't even help myself. That is what I do. So these sentences are our strengths summed up, but in a way more fun way than I am a maximizer, because that is not a cool word. But the idea behind it, seeing huge potential in others, is easy to communicate. So kind of like, how do I communicate my value to others in this 1 sentence? And then when it comes to a team, I'll put these grids together for teams that I work with. So if Bobby and I were a team, and I know it's probably hard to see, but the point is that in the influencing, which is the yellow square here, Bobby has 4 out of his top 10 themes in the influencing box. And I have 5 out of 10 in the blue relationship box. So if we were a team, I would be extremely good working with any clients that we had. You would want me on the client side. For Bobby, it might be working with the clients one-on-one, or maybe big picture, getting different clients. Obviously, I don't know what kind of business we would have if we were a team. But we would probably, and Bobby's high in strategic thinking. He has 3 out of 10 there. And basically, we would for sure need an executor, because we're not really good at executing things. And that would probably be where we'd want to hire someone else and possibly flush it out with another strategic thinker. So that's how it works. Like, if you were in a team, you can start to map out, like, okay, what do we need? Who are we missing? Who's in a wrong role? Maybe we should think about switching people up. So again, just to bring it back, like, the reason why knowing what your strengths are matters is so you can build a life that you are wired for, personally and professionally, i.e. holistically, right? Know how to communicate your value add. I wish I could go back in time and be my 22-year-old self working in financial services. And I worked there for like 6 years. I wish I would be able to communicate how I added value, because a lot of times some of these strengths are not super easy to pinpoint. Like, it's hard to say, I'm really good with clients. Like, some of our, like, I don't know her name, but whoever shared, like, oh, I'm energetic or I'm positive. Okay, like, does your boss really care about that? Like, how do you communicate that? There is a strength behind that when you know the verbiage, you can say, I am able to, let's pretend we all worked in a doctor's office, and whoever said I'm a positive person, you know what? Sometimes doctor's offices give out really bad diagnoses, but that person might be able to come in and work with a patient or in the outgoing, incoming part of the client process and be a little bit of a fresh air, like breathe some fresh air into someone who's maybe feeling down for why they're in that doctor's office in the first place, right? That's hard to communicate. Like, I'm really good with people. Like, okay, but when you know why it matters, why you're good with people, then you can communicate to others. This is what I'm really good at. And again, connect with the right clients. Know who you enjoy working with. If you are a business owner here, like, who are your favorite clients to work with? Because we all have them. And alternatively, like, who do you not enjoy working with and why? And it isn't probably because of the person, but there's something about the person, right? I love all of my clients, but there are some I really enjoy working with more than others. Charge for your superpower, like, get paid what you're worth because you're really good at that. Know who to hire. If you are noticing like things are going in a downward spiral in my business or on our team or whatever, maybe it's because people aren't in their right seats, or maybe it's because you're missing some of the key components that would really help your team and your business out. And then again, we get to be proactive. Like, we are agents in our own lives. So like, recognize where your strengths are and build a life around it. Like, when I worked the last job, I quit my job 4 years ago to pursue this job, my business. And so many people were so unhappy. And it's like, we forget that we have agency to do what we want. We're not in like, there's no one policing whether we switch jobs or go explore new opportunities. We get to have agency. So when we start really proactively leaning into our strengths, then we can really start kind of undoing what has built up or been built up, and then put it back together in a way that really works well with us or for us. So moving forward, you might be like, all right, well, now what? This all sounds great. One, your strengths point to what you are wired to do. And when you know what they are, you will have greater clarity on what to do, where to work, who to hire, all of the things. And so what you can do for yourself is first start with the assessment. It is the Gallup Clifton Strengths Assessment. And I have a link on my one-page cheat sheet that you can, I don't even think it's a link. You might just have to go to gallup.com. I can put that in the chat after I'm done talking. But start with the assessment. Get your results. Know what you are, start learning about yourself, right? Then start paying attention. What do you love to do? What do you not like to do? What are the parts about your job that you love? What are the parts about having a team that you love? What are the parts of your job or team that you don't really care for? Start paying attention to what you do and what's kind of bringing you that joy and energy and what's kind of bringing you down. And I don't mean that things are always easy straight when you know your strengths, because guess what? I have a long to-do list that I have to get done, like consistently plan my social media. I don't like to do that, but at least I know why I don't like to do it. And it's because of how I'm wired. I don't like to start things from scratch. A maximizer likes to take good things and make them better. When I know that, when I'm starting something from scratch, then I know, oh, I'm starting something from scratch. I don't have something already in existence to work with. That is why this is hard. So just start, air quotes around, just start paying attention. It's a lot of work to pay attention. And third, hire a coach. Hire someone who knows how to read the results and who can come in and be like, all right, this is where you're killing it and this is where you're not, and just kind of a coach helps you figure out, oh, this is how I can make things better, right? And then you on your own can start making those shifts. You go to a doctor's office to find out what's wrong with you. You know what? Take the time to go to a coach to find out what's right with you. And that's one of the cool things about the strengths assessment. And I just want to leave you with this, like, before understanding my strengths, and this is just one part of my many varied things that I've done in order to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I had a lingerie business. I worked in financial services. I thought I wanted to work for an outdoor clothing company. I've pursued a lot of things, and I was barking up a lot of wrong trees. But I had a coach when I was going through coach training. The first time anyone ever reviewed my strengths, I was like, everything that I was really good at, no one had ever told me I was good at, ever. And now my business is based off of that. So I'm no longer seeking out, what am I good at? What am I good at? What am I good at? I now know what I'm good at. And now I have proactively built my life around it. For me, it was having my own business. For you, maybe it's switching a job, getting a better team, building a team, starting your own thing. Regardless of what it is, when you know what you're good at, like I said, you can proactively lean into it. And like the whole title of the talk is like, so you can make more money and have more fun. Because when we are living in our strengths, we are making more money and we are having more fun. Like it's just like an offshoot. When I did CrossFit, it's like, why am I doing CrossFit? Like I want to get fit. And the guy was like, well, you're not supposed to do CrossFit to look like a bodybuilder, but that is a side effect of getting in shape. You look good, but the premise for getting in shape is so that you can be healthy. So that is my talk. And if you want to get the one-page cheat sheet, you can go to AnnaYNelson.com/cheat sheet and find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at Anna Y. Nelson. So if anyone has any questions, we can do that.
So there was one from Hannah Stevens, and she asks, can your strengths change over time?
Yes. And also, so yes and no. So the first time I took my strengths assessment was in 2008. I was unemployed because of the financial crisis, and my sister paid for me to take it. And I got the results and I'm like, whatever, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And I put it on a shelf. And then 10 years later, when I was going through coaching training, I took it again and my results were different, but I think they were different based on the fact that I was really working on my business. So like I was thinking a little bit differently, but when I utilize my results, I just use the first results because they feel more like me. And so if they change and you have two sets, I would say go with the ones that feel most like you. And anytime we take an assessment and if we answer questions differently, the answers are going to be different. But like 6 out of 10 of my top 10 from my first assessment were still in the top 10 years later. So the themes were consistently in the top, and the themes that were consistently in the bottom were still in the bottom with some fluctuation.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for Anna?
Yeah, and Barb, like I took the second assessment. I was building my business and I'd just gone through a really unexpected divorce. So I had a lot of major change, moved. I mean, nothing looked the same in my life, which is also kind of why I still use my first results. Is there a cost to do the assessment? Yes, there is. It is, there are two options. There's a $50 option, and I'm giving my results here, and a $20 option. So the $50 option, this is what it looks like. And I know it sounds like a lot for an assessment, but there's like 60 years of research behind the Gallup strengths assessment. And there is so much copy. This copy is individual based on like so if you and I were a maximizer, so maximizer is my number one, the copy on maximizer. So when I say copy, I mean the words here for both of us would be different because our second strengths and third strengths and fourth strengths and sixth strengths, et cetera, influence all of the copy for each of the strengths. So while you and I might both be maximizers, the way our maximizer shows up is very different from each other. And then there's a $20 version. And it's just basically copy paste. It's like, so if you and I were both maximizers, we would both get the same paragraph copy, which is why this is so much more effective because it's so much more individualized. But if you don't have $50 to spend on an assessment, go with the $20 version. But like when I work with people, it's only the $50 version. Down to East High School, we'll need to get coffee. I know. Here's the thing. I would love to get coffee. I now live in sunny Albertville, which is where the outlet mall is, down near the cities. So I'd have to drive, but that is fine. So when coffee shops are open, and if and when I'm in Duluth next time seeing my parents, I would be happy to meet up for coffee. That would be super fun. So you can come find me on like LinkedIn or Instagram. Yes, I'll do Zoom coffee anytime. You can literally just email me at hello@AnnaYNelson, and I will do Zoom coffee. That is, yeah, definitely. Is there anything else? I'm looking in here.
Don't see.
I'm trying to think of like questions that I get from my people. I think assessments are so interesting too, because as we all know, there's like the Enneagram or the DISC, or what type of noodle are you, or what type of dog are you? And I think anytime you take an assessment, if it changes if you become more aware of yourself because of it, I think it is great. That's awesome. I definitely think knowing how your strengths are, like knowing like the words, like I was part of a mastermind on Saturday with 14 lawyers, and it was crazy just to be like, a lot of them were in the same type of lawyering, like immigration law, but the way they worked with their clients and how they worked with their clients was very different. It was so interesting. Yes, Gallup has tons of resources that you can use to look at. Of course, they have all these books. So like once you take the assessment, they have like, here's how, you would get, if you did the $50 one, you would get this, then you would get this. There are 2 other PDFs. So it's like variations on a theme, but yes. And they have a podcast all about strengths. So yes, you can analyze yourself for sure. Like we can all read words, right? Like we can all read about this and get something out of it. It is also extremely valuable to go over it with someone, because kind of like going to the doctor's office, if you get your cholesterol checked, you can be like, oh, cool. I don't even know what my cholesterol number is, like whatever, 127. Okay, great. I don't know what to do with it. But then the doctor comes in and he's like, all right, well, this is what this means. And I think you should probably be eating more vegetables, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, you can do it on your own and read up on all of the things, but it is also extremely valuable to do it on your own. Like I should have had a coach 10 years ago when I was unemployed and I was looking at my strengths, because I read my results. I'm like, this means nothing. And 10 years later, I was like, if I had only have known about this. Yeah, that's fine. I have clients who are across the board, like all 10 of my, at the end of the 50-page report, there's like a grid. So all of the dark boxes are my top 10 across the 4 domains. So, but I still lead with relationship building. So, and then there's this line here, it says relationship building, influencing, executing strategic thinking. And some clients of mine, I had one, she had like 8 in relationship building, and then the other one somewhere else and one somewhere else. So, let's see, who do you suggest? Well, so this is what I do for a living, and you can, at the end of my PDF, like if Bailey has put the slides in, you can even go to my website, AnnaYNelson.com, and sign up for a 30-minute conversation. It's free. But I do this for a living. I've worked with like over 70 entrepreneurs and business owners about their strengths, and some of them with teams. And that's what I do all day, every day. And there are different strengths coaches as well. Like you don't have to like just go to me. There are different Gallup certified strengths coaches. But yeah, I'm one of them.
And I'll be sure to include the slides and the recap email along with the recording as
Mm.
well. And then any other information that you wanted to include, Anna, I'd be happy to put on there.
Okay. Anyone? And it also, like, the thing about the strengths that I love, it isn't about like, it's not a label. It's just being really highly aware of how you operate. So none of us operate the same. And I don't go around saying I'm a maximizer. Like I don't describe myself that way, but recognizing who do I, as a maximizer, who do I enjoy working with? I enjoy working with people who are already pretty motivated, they have a lot of things going for them. They might have a lot of education already, and they just want to like really lean more into what they're really good at. Okay, my whole job and my whole business is based on helping someone proactively lean into what they're already good at. I have worked with clients, like I have one client, she works with folks who are suffering from addiction. That is a completely different client base than what I am wired to do. And so I love that strengths isn't about like an Enneagram, I'm a 3, I'm a 7. Okay, that doesn't mean anything, but it's more like for you to know how you're wired versus you saying to the world, I'm a maximizer, I'm a strategic thinker. Like it's more for you to really pay attention and then start building your life around. So, yep, good idea. Just like business owners, everyone, not all doctors are good, so not all coaches are good. Yeah. So, yeah. And I work with all sorts of people. So yes, I say in my, intro, like 6, 7, and 8-figure business owners. But if you're a human who has a job and you want to learn more about your strengths, I work with you as well. Cause I'm a professional. I know what it's like to have a job where you're like, I don't know if this is the right fit. And so I've reviewed friends, teenagers' strengths, and let me tell you, that is also very interesting. So in business, we all have to have a niche. And right now my niche is business owners and our professionals. So anyone else? It's a very like quiet group. Trying to think of like something else to mention, but yeah. I'd be curious if anyone has head strengths done in their business or at work. How do I work with teams? So I will, depending on the size of the team, because like if let's pretend you worked on a huge team or you were the business owner, it kind of depends. But if it can be like the manager and the subset of a team, like I'd come in, work with the manager and or a business owner, and then work individually with each person on the team. And then we talk together, everyone in person, so that everyone starts to really appreciate like, oh, Bailey is really good at that. Oh, Anna's really good at that. And so it's individual and then as a collective experience. And my client, Bobby, I went in, I talked to him as the owner, I reviewed his strengths and then his team members' strengths. And then we had a collective meeting. And a few weeks later, because his team members appreciated and learned more about how he operates really well, they actually came up with like VIP days. So now he gets paid, I think, like $4,500 for half day to full day sessions, strategy sessions. giving people strategic ideas for their businesses, and they would never have thought about it had they not had their strengths reviewed. So it's pretty powerful, one, for individuals, but then also for individuals to really appreciate, like, what do others bring to the table. By doing assessments, can you determine the best team to put together? Yes and yes. So yes, if you already have a team, then you can really appreciate, like, okay, Anna's really good at talking with people. Why don't we have her mostly focus with the people? Or maybe there is a gap. So it can shuffle. It kind of depends on what your needs are, what kind of comes out of the session. But having everyone aware of what each person is good at is so valuable. And then also just to help appreciate, just so people can appreciate what each person brings to the table, but then also to fill in the gaps. Yeah, it's not a selection tool, no. And just because I may have been working in jobs that I wasn't necessarily super good at, there were elements where I was really good at just by the nature of the particular job. I'm not good at numbers, so I would never apply for an accounting job. So I was like 22 years old starting out as an admin. So I got to answer phones. I was really good at that. So yeah, it's not to kick people off. It's more like, how do you build a strengths-based team so everyone's doing what they're really good at? Yeah, exactly. That's awesome, Betsy. Super cool. And it'd be interesting too to like not reevaluate, but like for people to relook at their strengths again, like later on, because I find it's kind of like an onion. It's like, here you are as an onion, and then a few months later, you become self-aware and you peel the layers back and you're like, oh, this is how I'm working. Like, you understand yourself more and more. And this is like the start of a lifelong love affair with yourself. That was such a poorly worded thing to say, but like, I learning more and more now that I'm married, I'm learning more about myself and like, okay, I don't need to make everything better just because I know it can be made better. So we learn how to use our strengths wisely and then not utilize them when they don't need to.
And I think we have time for one more.
Okay, yes. Recap how you define superpowered versus talent. Yeah, talent is what you do without even trying. And a superpower is what you do without trying, that you have invested in. So me making connections with strangers in the bathroom, I'm not even trying, but then, recognizing I might be a really good coach. So adding skills and knowledge to my ability to connect well with strangers. That is now my superpower.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Anna. That was really insightful things that I had never thought about before. And I know I want to take the strengths assessment. We had talked about that before, but this kind of reinforced that for me. So thank you so much for presenting, and thank you everybody for joining us today and your participation. It was great. Again, this is recorded, and I'll be sending out the slides and then any other backup information and maybe your contact information too, Anna.
Mm-hmm. I guess right. I'll email that to you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, thanks so much, Bailey. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Have a good day.